Ahora, esta reunión se está grabando para que podamos ponerla en nuestro sitio web para verla más tarde. También les pediré a todos que apaguen sus micrófonos hasta la sesión de preguntas y respuestas. El plan para hoy es proporcionar una actualización sobre dónde nos encontramos en el proceso de planificación para ese desarrollo propuesto, con una presentación de nuestras representaciones exteriores. Luego, proporcionaremos una actualización de la línea de tiempo del proyecto y luego responderemos a sus preguntas. Nuestra reunión hoy es breve porque solo queríamos proporcionar una actualización rápida sobre el proyecto, ya que hemos presentado una actualización del plan a la ciudad. Para tener una discusión detallada, nos gustaría invitar a todos que vengan a nuestra reunión en persona el 10 de agosto, de 6 a 8 por la tarde. Tendremos varios miembros del equipo de AHDC que estarán listos para escuchar, tomar sus comentarios y responder a sus preguntas sobre el arrendamiento, construcción, diseño, el proceso de desarrollo y más. Este evento tendrá varios miembros del equipo que hablan español, además de traductores. Para aquellos que no pueden asistir a este evento o que no les gustaría participar en eventos en persona en este momento, tendremos información virtual en nuestro sitio web después del 10 de agosto. Voy a proporcionar de parte de Vernon una descripción general del desarrollo propuesto por AHDC en Glebe y Mount Vernon Avenue, actualizaciones del plan desde las primeras reuniones virtuales en abril y un resumen de nuestra línea de tiempo desde ahora hasta el fin de año. Después de eso, de parte de Rob, voy a mostrar representaciones de la arquitectura exterior del proyecto y detalles de nuestro proceso de diseño e inspiración. No ha habido cambios importantes en el plan general que presentamos en abril. Si asistió a esa reunión, mucha de la información que presentó esta noche será muy similar, así que gracias de antemano por su paciencia. El sitio propuesto combina 5 áreas de terreno separadas en Glebe y Mount Vernon Avenue, 3.2 acres en total. Las direcciones y los inquilinos comerciales existentes incluyen el antiguo edificio de Safeway en 221 Glebe, marcado como número 1 en el mapa, con Sherwin-Williams y el Cuscatleco. 3606 Mount Vernon Avenue, el número 2 en el mapa, con Huascarán Restaurante, y 3610, 3612 y 3700 Mount Vernon Avenue, que se muestran como el número 3 en el mapa. Estas 3 parcelas son una combinación de terrenos no urbanizados y estacionamientos. AHDC ya está en negociaciones con los propietarios de estos terrenos y aún no ha tenido conversaciones directas con estos inquilinos actuales. Planeamos reunirnos con cada uno de estos negocios en los próximos meses para determinar si hay oportunidades de regresar como parte del desarrollo propuesto. Planeamos desarrollar 2 edificios y crear una nueva calle privada que conecte Glebe y Mount Vernon Avenue. Cuando se complete, este desarrollo de uso mixto incluirá hasta 482 unidades de viviendas asequibles, un estacionamiento subterráneo con 379 espacios, ubicado debajo del edificio más grande, y aproximadamente 36,000 pies cuadrados de espacio comercial para organizaciones y empresas que respaldan a la comunidad de Arlandria y Chiricahua. Esta diapositiva muestra una comparación del plan que presentamos en abril y nuestra presentación a la ciudad el 1 de julio. Como se puede ver, hubo reducciones en el número total de unidades, espacios de estacionamiento y pies cuadrados de espacio comercial. Pero el plan en general sigue siendo el mismo. Muchos de ustedes ya saben que la ciudad está en medio de la actualización del plan de Arlandria y Chiricahua. Creemos que nuestro plan propuesto está fuertemente alineado con los objetivos del proceso de planificación de la ciudad y particularmente con las recomendaciones de viviendas asequibles. La construcción del edificio número 1 comenzará en 2023 con el garaje y se completará en el 2026. El edificio está diseñado para tener 10 pisos de altura con retrocesos de 5 pisos a lo largo de Mount Vernon y Glebe. Estamos planeando terrazas en la azotea con comodidades al aire libre sobre esos retrocesos. El edificio número 1 también incluye aproximadamente 4,000 pies cuadrados de espacio comercial a lo largo de Mount Vernon. La mayor parte del espacio no residencial del proyecto se ubicará en los 2 primeros pisos del edificio número 2, aproximadamente 31,000 pies cuadrados. AHDC planea construir 60 a 65 unidades de vivienda adicionales en los pisos 3 a 7. El cambio más notable desde las reuniones de abril es que estamos considerando la posibilidad de ofrecer esas unidades asequibles en el edificio número 2 como una opción de compra para los residentes. Crear oportunidades de ser dueño de una vivienda asequible es una prioridad para AHDC y el plan preliminar de las recomendaciones de vivienda para Alondra Chirilagua. Creemos que brindar opciones de hogar de todo tipo de asequibilidad, desde unidades profundamente asequibles hasta ser dueño de hogar, es el enfoque ideal para ese proyecto y de este tamaño. Si no podemos establecer un programa de dueño de vivienda asequibles para esas unidades, nuestro plan será construir las unidades como alquiler. La construcción del edificio número 2 terminaría entre 2025 y 2026. Entendemos que la necesidad de unidades grandes a niveles de AMI o ingresos promedios de área más asequibles es una gran preocupación para los residentes de la comunidad, probablemente la preocupación mayor. El proceso de planificación del proyecto se ha beneficiado enormemente de las conversaciones con representantes de la comunidad centradas en el tamaño del hogar, los niveles de ingresos y la distribución de las unidades. Casi 60% de las unidades en el proyecto están planificadas como 2 o 3 recámaras y 80% de las unidades tienen un diseño que acomodará 3 o más ocupantes. En términos de la combinación de ingresos, AHDC se ha fijado en el objetivo de reservar una cuarta parte de las unidades totales para hogares de 40% del ingreso medio de área o AMI por sus siglas en inglés. Asegurar que el financiamiento necesario para proporcionar más de 100 unidades al 40% de AMI será el aspecto más desafiante del proyecto. Estamos dedicados a trabajar con socios financieros potenciales a nivel federal, estatal y local, así como el sector privado, para obtener las cantidades significativas de financiamiento necesarios para lograr este objetivo. Estamos teniendo conversaciones preliminares sobre un posible espacio nuevo para una clínica de salud en este edificio número 2 y también con la ciudad sobre un posible espacio para que tengan oficinas aquí también, por lo que estamos muy entusiasmados con esas posibles asociaciones. Habrá una cantidad considerable de espacio comercial disponible, por lo que planeamos involucrarnos activamente con la comunidad de Alondra Chirilagua, particularmente con los negocios existentes y la comunidad sin fines de lucro en Alexandria para garantizar una combinación de usos que se adapte a las necesidades y preferencias de la comunidad. El estacionamiento para ambos edificios del proyecto se ubicará en el garaje subterráneo debajo del edificio número 1. La única entrada al garaje es por el nuevo camino privado y la recolección de basura para el edificio número 1 también se encuentra en el camino privado. La recolección de basura para el edificio 2 está en el callejón existente. El desarrollo tiene varios elementos positivos contenidos dentro de su diseño que minimizan los impactos potenciales del transporte, que incluyen El edificio está muy cerca de varias líneas de autobús. Hay 3 paradas de autobús de Dash o Wamada dentro de un cuarto de milla del sitio. Estacionamiento de bicicletas a corto y largo plazo que cumplirá o superará con los requisitos de la zona. Y conectividad mejorada entre Glebe y Mount Vernon Avenue a través de la nueva calle privada. Ahora, de parte de Rob, voy a mostrar las primeras representaciones exteriores de este proyecto. Nuestro diseño para el exterior comenzó con los siguientes objetivos. Primero, que queríamos tomar inspiración de la arquitectura existente en la comunidad Arlandria Chirilagua. En segundo lugar, queríamos crear un conjunto único de edificios que sean estéticamente atractivos y que envejezcan bien. Y tercero, queríamos que los edificios den una sensación de estabilidad y permanencia en el vecindario. Dado que nuestros residentes viven en nuestros edificios por más años que el promedio de otros apartamentos en la ciudad, nuestro objetivo es crear lugares que se sientan permanentes, seguros y duraderos. Para los nuevos proyectos de construcción de AHDC, trabajamos para garantizar que cada edificio esté diseñado con una personalidad única, específica para la comunidad inmediata a la que sirve. Con nuestro objetivo de crear un desarrollo que cultive un sentido de permanencia, primero miramos a los colores y estilos de la arquitectura vecina, evitando las tendencias actuales que podrían hacer que el desarrollo parezca fuera de lugar. Con este objetivo en mente, nos dedicamos por un estilo inspirado en Art Deco, un estilo extraído de las estructuras de las comunidades de Arlandria Chirilagua y Del Rey a lo largo de la avenida Mount Vernon. Esta inspiración se manifestó en un edificio con líneas horizontales fuertes, elementos verticales y un énfasis en el ladrillo de la construcción. También elegimos diseñar los 2 edificios en diferentes estilos y materiales para minimizar el sentido de tamaño del desarrollo desde la calle y poniendo la idea que estos edificios se relacionan entre sí, pero pueden haber sido construidos en diferentes momentos. Aquí hay un mapa para mostrar dónde vamos a ver las representaciones. Aquí podemos ver cómo el edificio 1 se reduce en altura cerca de Glebe Road. También puede ver el énfasis en los detalles horizontales creados por el ladrillo y los balcones. La incorporación de balcones donde sea posible ayuda a crear una sensación de interacción entre las unidades residenciales y el resto del desarrollo y el vecindario. Aquí podemos ver las puertas de la entrada principal del edificio 1, ubicado en la intersección de Glebe Road y nuestra nueva calle. Cuando se camina por la calle hacia Mount Vernon Avenue, puede ver el frente del edificio 2. En esta imagen podemos ver cómo el edificio 1 comienza a elevarse hacia el centro del sitio del desarrollo, así como la coloración de los ríos comienza a parecerse a los colores de la Escuela Santa Rita, localizada hacia el norte. Aquí podemos ver cómo se ve el edificio 1 dentro del patio. Esta será una área muy activa con entradas a nuestros espacios comunitarios para residentes. En esta representación, estamos mirando a la nueva calle de la avenida Mount Vernon. Podemos ver cómo los 2 edificios se relacionan entre sí, pero son únicos en sus diseños. El edificio 2, el más pequeño, contendrá el espacio de usos no residenciales en los 2 primeros pisos. En el edificio número 1, a la izquierda, podemos ver la segunda entrada. El edificio número 1 también tendrá tiendas a lo largo de la avenida Mount Vernon. Aquí estamos en la intersección de Glebe Road y la avenida Mount Vernon mirando hacia el edificio 1. En esta representación, caminamos hacia el norte a lo largo de la avenida Mount Vernon y podemos ver los espacios no residenciales al nivel de la calle. También podemos ver cómo el edificio número 1 se minimiza a lo largo de Mount Vernon, alineado con el plan de área de Arlandria Chirilagua. Y por último, aquí estamos mirando hacia el centro de la calle Nueva, hacia la escalera exterior que lleva a los visitantes y residentes a través del edificio hasta el patio grande del edificio 1. Aquí tenemos un resumen de la línea del tiempo del proyecto. Nuestro plan es pasar el resto de ese año trabajando en el proceso de planificación y asignación de derechos. En 2022, nos concentraremos en la aprobación final del plan de proyecto y en la obtención de los fondos necesarios para comenzar la construcción del proyecto en 2023. Esperamos que los residentes del edificio 1 se estén mudando a finales de 2025. Aquí hay más detalle de nuestro proceso de planificación hasta la fecha y hasta el final de ese año. Además del evento de puertas abiertas en el sitio del proyecto de 10 de agosto, tendremos una cuarta reunión pública a fines de septiembre. Si no has dicho que la ciudad se está preparando para llevar la actualización del plan de Arlandria Chirilagua ante la Comisión de Planificación y el Consejo Municipal en noviembre, por lo que estamos preparando para llevar nuestra propuesta a la Comisión y al Consejo Municipal para su aprobación en diciembre. Finalmente, y antes de comenzar con las preguntas, quería mencionar nuevamente nuestro próximo evento de puertas abiertas el 10 de agosto. Este evento se llevará a cabo en el sitio del desarrollo propuesto, en los estacionamientos al norte del restaurante Huascarán. En este evento, los miembros del equipo de AHDC estarán disponibles en persona para responder a preguntas y recibir comentarios sobre esta propuesta de desarrollo. El evento se instalará en varias estaciones con diferentes temas relacionados con la construcción, el diseño, el proceso de renta y los espacios no residenciales, entre otros. El evento de puertas abiertas será de 6 a las 8. No hay pláticas o discursos programados, así que puede llegar a cualquier hora entre las 6 y las 8 de la tarde. Tendremos miembros del personal de AHDC que hablan español en este evento, así como traductores para aquellos que no hablan español. Toda la información que compartimos en este evento, así como las oportunidades para dar comentarios, se proporcionará en línea después del evento en nuestra página de web, para aquellos que no sienten que deberían asistir a los eventos en persona en este momento, o para aquellos que no pueden asistir. Okay, ahora vamos a abrir para las preguntas. Aaron, if you could transfer host control back to me. Solo como recordatorio, por favor, cuando dice su pregunta, deje una pausa para que Marisol, la traductora de esta tarde, pueda decirla en inglés a nuestro equipo. Aaron, Rob o Duncan van a responder en inglés y luego Marisol le traduce en español. Puede escribir sus preguntas en el cuadro de chat o presionar raise hand para hacer preguntas con el micrófono abierto. Terminaremos en español a las 7, por lo que cualquier pregunta que tengamos en el chat será respondida en nuestra página de web después de la reunión. También puede mandar sus preguntas vía email a communications@housingalexandria.org, comunicaciones@housingalexandria.org. Okay. En este momento yo no veo alguna persona con raise hands o mano arriba.
¿Alguien tiene una pregunta?
Sí, muy buenas tardes.
Hola, ¿cómo está?
Solo quería hacer una pregunta respecto a lo que se está hablando. Es que yo hasta ahorita me conecté.
I'd just like to make a question about what's being talked about. I just connected right now.
Oh,
Por favor, siga, señor.
Lo que pasa es que yo quiero saber si se trata de lo que siempre se ha hablado, de lo que se está haciendo por donde está el Cuscatleco, sobre los apartamentos de bajo costo. Es esta reunión o lo que están haciendo ahorita, ¿verdad?
So I just wanted to ask if this was what's always been talked about making the affordable housing apartments.
yes, so this is all affordable housing. This is a proposal for 482 units of affordable housing that would occupy the sites that are currently on your screen.
Entonces, sí, esta reunión es acerca de crear 482 unidades o hogares de hogares asequibles o económicos.
Ok, esa era mi pregunta porque a mí me cayó el mensaje y por esa razón me conecté hasta ahorita porque estoy en el trabajo y por esa razón hasta ahorita me conecté y dije voy a hacer esa pregunta para entender pues de qué es lo que van a hablar.
Yeah, I wasn't able to do the whole meeting because I'm at work, but I did receive the message that there was going to be a meeting. So I figured I would at least ask a question.
Thank you for coming. We are glad you're here. Please ask any questions that you have. In addition, we have an outdoor meeting that will be taking place on August 10th. That will also be an opportunity to learn more about the project and ask questions.
Muchas gracias por venir. Por favor, hagan todas las preguntas que a ustedes les interesen hacer. También, en adición, vamos a tener una reunión afuera el 10 de agosto para hablar acerca de estos asuntos también.
Está
Sí,
bien.
buenas tardes. Yo tengo una pregunta.
Okay.
Yes, I have a question.
Sí, muchas gracias a la primera y cuándo está lista.
Bueno, ¿puedo hacer la pregunta?
Sí, gracias María. ¿Cuándo está
Sí,
lista?
Sí, mi pregunta es ¿por qué no hacer más apartamentos de 2 recámaras en lugar de una recámara y un estudio? Porque
My
eso es lo que
question.
estamos pidiendo. Estar más desalojados porque vivimos en apartamentos pequeños y apretados y lo que queremos es que nuestros hijos tengan su recámara independiente y los papás también.
The question I have is, why not make more 2-bedroom apartments? Because we're usually tend to be stuck in small apartments where we have 1-bedrooms or studios, and it would be good for the kids and the parents to have separate bedrooms.
I could probably answer this. While there are a number of 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms, we have designed a large portion, around over 100 1-bedrooms, to have a den. So they would be priced as a 1-bedroom unit, but serve as having the ability of 2 bedrooms.
Entonces, una de las cosas que hicimos es que una proporción grande, 100 de los apartamentos con un solo dormitorio o habitación, tienen en realidad lo que llaman un den, que es básicamente como un cuarto que seguramente es un poco más pequeño o no tiene ventana, pero es un cuarto separado, pero lo consideran un apartamento de un solo dormitorio y termina siendo más barato, pero en total se puede utilizar como un apartamento de 2 dormitorios.
Pero usted dicho es muy pequeño y nosotros estamos peleando por comodidad y bajo recurso. ¿Por qué no hacer bien 2 recámaras? Un apartamento bien de 2 recámaras y no un estudio.
So I don't think there's no word in Spanish for den. So I said that the other room was either smaller or maybe didn't have a window. And I think she understood. So what she said in response to that is, why does it have to be small? We're tired of living in studio apartments.
You know, I definitely appreciate the comment. You know, we have had conversations with representatives of the community, and providing larger units has been one of the things that we've focused on heavily in coming up with the mix here. And so, you know, we do feel that a mix of 60% or more units at 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom units shows that we're making this a priority, and that, you know, it's a lot higher than what you would normally see in new development for market rate buildings. But I definitely appreciate, you know, the need in the community for larger units.
Nosotros hemos estado interactuando con la comunidad, entendiendo y escuchando acerca de las necesidades de la comunidad. Y nosotros apreciamos y entendemos la necesidad de poder proveer apartamentos, unidades o viviendas más grandes. Y en este proyecto estamos ofreciendo 60% de las unidades son de 2 dormitorios y 3 dormitorios, que en realidad que demuestra que hemos hecho eso una prioridad para nosotros. Esa cantidad, ese 60%, está por encima de cualquier desarrollo bajo construcción que está en el mercado en este momento.
Y otra de las preguntas, ¿por qué no poner más unidades de 40 y 50% de ingreso?
I also wanted to ask, why not put more units of 40 and 50% income?
That's a good question. You know, this is another thing in addition to the larger units that can accommodate families that we've focused on heavily. And so, you know, in this chart here, you see that you have about 35% of the units at 50 or 40% AMI. And so for us, you know, that represents quite a bit of an increase than we would normally do for an individual project.
Entonces, esa es una pregunta muy buena. Nosotros nos hemos enfocado mucho en esta área. Y let me just ask you, you said about 40% of units are 50?
It's in total about 35%
okay.
of the units in total that would be at 50% AMI or less.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Entonces, nosotros tenemos aproximadamente 35% de las viviendas del total están a 40% o 50% de lo que llaman el AMI o AMI, que son el nivel de ingresos.
We do understand the tremendous need for deeply affordable units in the neighborhood, and recognize that, you know, the 167 units that we're showing in this project is likely not sufficient to meet the current demand of the neighborhood. But, you know, we don't look at this one individual project as, you know, the only deeply affordable units that we will deliver into the neighborhood over the coming years. Our organization only works in Alexandria, and we're going to continue working and focusing on this neighborhood to deliver more of these deeply affordable units, whether it's through preservation, of existing units or more, hopefully, development projects in the future.
Entonces, nosotros reconocemos la necesidad de unidades asequibles y viviendas asequibles. En este caso, tenemos 167 unidades bajo este nivel de ingreso y nosotros nos damos cuenta que eso no es suficiente para la demanda de esta zona. Pero acuérdese, por favor, de que esto es solamente un solo desarrollo que hemos creado, que vamos a crear a través de varios años y que vamos a proveer en el futuro. Nosotros solamente le proveemos servicios a Alexandria y vamos a continuar proveyendo servicios para encontrar mejor viviendas asequibles en la zona. Pueda ser manteniendo proyectos de vivienda asequible en la zona, como también creando nuevos proyectos de vivienda.
Porque esa es una de las preocupaciones que tengo yo y mi comunidad, bueno, mi comunidad y yo, ¿verdad? De que no queremos ser desalojados, porque eso que están brindando es muy poco.
So that's one of the concerns that I have and people in my community have, is that we don't want to lose our housing because what's being offered is too little.
No sé si puedo hacer una pregunta relacionada a eso. If I can ask a question that's kind of related to what Maria has been asking. No sé si tal vez si los de AHDC nos pueden explicar cómo es que están ofreciendo estas unidades a 40 y 50% de los ingresos promedio del área, como qué es el proceso de poder ofrecer esos tipos de unidades a la comunidad para que podamos entender mejor. I don't know if maybe you guys can just help us understand, like, what is even the process of being able to offer affordable units at 40 and 50% AMI? Like, what is the background of like the funding of that, just so that myself and community members can kind of get a sense of how this process is even happening. Porque, no sé, como ustedes me imagino saben, hay otra propiedad también que está propuesto estar desarrollado y la cantidad de unidades que van a ser a bajo costo es muy bajo. As I'm sure, as you guys know, there's another property that's planning to be developed in our area that has very few affordable housing units. Entonces, me imagino que mucha gente está haciendo comparación entre esos dos propiedades. I'm sure people are doing a lot of comparisons between these two property proposals. So if you can just help us understand how this is coming about, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I can try. So, you know, simply put, we get the financing for these affordable projects through federal, state, and local financing programs that encourage the development of these affordable units. And I'll continue after the transition.
Entonces, nosotros obtenemos financiamiento para estos proyectos a través de programas federales y estatales.
The challenge is that these units, because of the rents that are charged, you know, they require what we call this gap financing, which comes from, you know, the city's housing opportunities fund, for instance, grants, below market rate debt. And there is, as the rents that we charge go lower, let's say from 80% down to 40%, because the income generated by a lower AMI unit doesn't cover the cost to even operate the unit on a yearly basis, the gap in the funding becomes larger and larger as you offer more and more of these deeply affordable units. And so that is the challenge, and that is why we have to sort of come up with a mix of units across different AMIs.
Entonces, la razón que nosotros necesitamos crear diferentes mezclas de niveles de ingreso en las rentas es porque la dificultad es que el dinero que nos proveen del Estado y federal no es suficiente para cubrir estas rentas tan bajas. Entonces, lo que nosotros tenemos que hacer es encontrar lo que llaman financiamiento gap, que quiere decir que necesitan buscar otros recursos para cubrir los costos que no se pueden cubrir entre la renta y el financiamiento federal y estatal. Entonces, algunas de ese dinero para el financiamiento para el GAP vienen de los fondos de la ciudad de vivienda de Alexandria. También vienen de otros fondos de dinero como lo que llaman grants. Y entonces, el asunto es que cuando uno llega a 40% de nivel de ingreso, eso quiere decir que esa renta ni siquiera cubre los costos de operación del edificio. Entonces, esa es la razón de crear una mezcla de diferentes niveles de ingreso para que uno de los niveles de ingreso cubra los niveles de ingreso más bajos.
Ok. Y si reciben más fondos, ¿incrementaría más viviendas de bajo costo del 40 al 50%?
And if you happen to receive more funds, would you be able to make more housing at 40 and 50%?
I think that there is the potential if more funding is identified, beyond some of the sources that we are envisioning, that there is the potential to increase from the amount that's showing in the table here. It's a conversation that, we as a nonprofit would need to have with the city of Alexandria, who invests a lot of the money in our projects to help provide these subsidies. But it's a possibility. At this point, we think that the number we're showing here is an ambitious goal based on the amount of funding sources that we know to be available.
Puede haber potencial de subir la cantidad de unidades en el nivel de ingreso de 40 y 50%. Sería una conversación que se tendría que tener y también encontrar de a dónde se van a obtener esos subsidios para poder proveer eso. Pero en este momento, los números de unidades que estamos representando en esta tabla en el momento es un número ambicioso dado los recursos que tenemos.
Ok, muchas gracias.
Thank you.
While we have a second, I would like to show a floor plan, and thank you, Marissa, as well. I would like to show a floor plan of what the 1-bedroom plus den looks like.
Entonces, en este momento quisiera mostrarles un diseño de cómo se ve el apartamento de un dormitorio más el despacho.
So in this floor plan we see here, this is the kitchen. Hay la cocina aquí. Hay la sala de vivienda aquí. Hay una recámara tradicional aquí. Y recamarita es como un despacho. Es como un recamarita. Y para decir lo que dice Carson Lucarelli en el cuadro de chats. Hola a todos, habla Carson Lucarelli desde el Departamento de Planificación y Desarrollo de la Ciudad. Bueno, me gustaría clarificar algo. Un recámara plus despacho significa que ese apartamento tendría una recámara típica, además de incluiría una sala de descanso y relajarse, aparte de la recámara principal, que se podría ser utilizado como otra recamarita. And just for English, that's just, we explained that the 1-bedroom plus den is an additional room where that can be used as a space to relax. It can be used as a space that is an additional bedroom. A tiny office. And then I read Carson's message from the chat as well.
Rob, can you tell us the overall square footage of, you know, the apartment and the main bedroom and then the den space?
No sé si nos pueden decir un poquito acerca de cuántos pies cuadrados tiene.
So essentially, this unit is about 650 square feet. I just want to make it clear that this is designed so that it can be priced as a 1-bedroom, but act as housing for more than just a 1-bedroom. I would say that the bedroom is probably maybe 180 square feet. I'm just sort of eyeballing this.
Entonces, este apartamento que están viendo aquí esta vivienda que están viendo aquí es de aproximadamente 650 pies cuadrados y una de las razones que nosotros ponemos esto como un dormitorio con un despacho es porque puede hacer el papel de 2 dormitorios, pero el precio va a ser más bajo. Puede ser, el precio se puede ser como de un dormitorio. Entonces puede hacer los 2 papeles y puede ser de beneficio para la gente. Los pies cuadrados del dormitorio son aproximadamente 180 pies cuadrados.
And that was the main bedroom I was talking about. The small bedroom, or den as we call it, that could fit a child or someone, is about, I would say, 80 square feet.
Y el dormitorio más pequeño, o lo que estamos refiriendo como el despacho, ese es aproximadamente 80 pies cuadrados.
I think one of the things that, I mean, this isn't sort of an example of, you know, a larger goal from conversations we've had with representatives of the community to understand the relationship between household size, the price that the rent of the apartment, and the income levels of families that would be living here based on, you know, the Arlandria Charlagua community. And so the feedback that we've gotten is that, you know, 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom rents, even at 40% AMI, can sometimes be challenging for households in the area.
Esto es un ejemplo de una meta, este diseño que ven aquí es parte de una meta más grande para entender la asociación entre las viviendas y los niveles de ingreso. Y es basado en lo que nosotros hemos escuchado de la comunidad, que algunas veces hasta tener que pagar un apartamento, una vivienda de 2 dormitorios a 40% de ingreso, para alguna gente todavía es una dificultad.
Y gracias. Y en ese momento yo no veo personas con la mano abierta.
Levantada.
Sí, gracias, levantada. I don't see any people with their hands raised. If you have questions, we have about 10 minutes remaining. Si hay preguntas, queda casi 10 minutos más.
Sí, disculpe.
Hola,
Una
Heidi.
Hola. Sí, estoy escuchando de que dice de que va a ser de un dormitorio y el DEM, ¿va? Vaya, supuestamente en las reuniones anteriores se había estado hablando de que iban a ser de 2 cuartos completos, de familias de 5 en adelante. Y de familia de 4 para abajo iba a ser de un dormitorio. Pero ahora le han quitado el cuarto y lo han convertido en un den. Ok, dice que lo van a dar como de un cuarto, pero ahora si la persona tiene 5, son 5, ¿cómo van a meter 2 niños en un closet? Y aparte de eso que dicen que no tienen ventana, se van a asfixiar los niños ahí. Usted sabe que son bien inquietos, necesitan un espacio más amplio. Y el otro, y la recámara donde pueden quedarse 3, digamos,
Déjeme
papá.
traducir porque yo creo
Okay.
que necesita un poquito de clarificación ahí. So what they're saying is, what she's saying is that so now you are making the 2 bedrooms into a 1 bedroom and a den, and that was not what was talked about. It was said that a family of 5 plus would get a 2 bedroom, and if you and then 4 or less would get the 1 bedroom. And if you try to put in a family of 5 and a 1 bedroom in a den, and you put the children in a room that's the size of a closet and it has no window, that's not good for the kids.
So
No,
we're not envisioning, and the 1 bedroom den is not designed for, or intended to be designed, to help accommodate families, of 5. So that's why if you see in the chart here, we do have almost 200 of the units that are 2 bedrooms. The 2 bedroom den, there's 20 of them, and then there's 70 or so of the 3 bedrooms. So we're trying to, on the whole, come up with a mix of units that can accommodate a variety of household sizes.
Entonces, nosotros nunca ha sido una intención de meter 5 personas o en un apartamento con un solo dormitorio y un despacho. Nosotros estamos ofreciendo, can I just get clarification? When you refer to a 2 bedroom, it's an actual 2 bedroom, right?
Yeah.
It's not a 1 bedroom. Entonces, en adición a las viviendas que tienen un dormitorio más el despacho, en adición a eso hay apartamentos que son de 2 dormitorios tal cual, y esos hay 200 unidades de esas, y además de eso se están ofreciendo 70 unidades de viviendas con 3 dormitorios completos.
And the 2 bedroom and 3 bedroom units are quite spacious.
Y las viviendas que tienen 2 dormitorios y 3 dormitorios son bastante espaciosas.
I'd like to suggest, and these are good questions. When we have this in-person event on August 10th, we will have floor plans, typical floor plans for each of these unit types that you see, so you will be able to see the square footage of them. We can provide an example of what the rent that we would charge for each type of unit at different AMI levels, and hopefully it will be a little easier for folks to understand the range of units that we're trying to provide within the project.
Entonces, yo también iba a sugerir que estas son todas preguntas muy buenas y en agosto 10, entonces, que va a haber una reunión en persona al aire libre, se puede, entonces podemos tener, presentarles a ustedes lo que se ve típicamente el diseño de cada apartamento, el típico diseño de cada apartamento, la cantidad de pies cuadrados que tiene cada vivienda. Y también podemos mostrarle eso con sus correspondientes niveles asociados niveles de ingreso.
Ok, está bien, gracias. Sí, era la pregunta porque yo así escuché, pero esos de 2 recámaras y de 3, esos incluyen ahí de los de bajo costo.
So, thank you for answering that question. The other question I have is, the 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom, are they also for low income?
Yes, yes. All 100% of the units are affordable at 80% AMI or below, with the majority being 60% AMI or below.
Entonces, sorry. Entonces, sí, toda la construcción, todo el edificio es de bajo basado en bajos ingresos, y todo el edificio está basado en 80% de ingresos o menos. Entonces, y además de eso, la mitad o la mayoría de las viviendas van a estar a 60% del nivel de ingreso o menos.
And then, Marisol, as we mentioned a couple of times, 24 or 25% of the units are at the 40% AMI.
Y un cuarto de, you said 24 or 25?
About 1/4.
Okay. Un cuarto de las unidades en el edificio son de 40% del nivel de ingreso.
Esto 40% de ingresos será para unidades de 2 recámaras y 3 recámaras, no solamente para una recámara, una de despacho.
So that, oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. The 40% units do mix across bedroom sizes in addition to the 50 and 60% units. We have one, Carson Lucarelli from the Department of Planning, who wanted to add a clarification.
Entonces tenemos a Carson Lucarelli, que es del Departamento de Planificación, que quería añadir una clarificación.
Hola a todos. Me gustaría clarificar algo porque me parece que hay gente que quizás estén confundidos sobre la cantidad de recámaras que estaría ubicado en este proyecto. Principalmente, todo el edificio desde la planta baja hasta el techo sería affordable. Y la cosa que me gustaría clarificar es que en esta página está escrito que sería 906 habitaciones con 2 cámaras, y también sería 20 habitaciones con 2 cámaras y despacho, o den en inglés. Entonces, estas categorías son 45% del edificio. Entonces, me gustaría clarificar que serían muchas habitaciones que tendrán 2 recámaras o más. Gracias.
Thanks, Carson.
Anytime.
Ok, y entonces solamente hay un minuto más. Solamente quería decir gracias a todas las personas que están aquí para asistir a nuestra reunión y dar un recordatorio de que hay nuestra reunión en persona el 10 de agosto de 6 a las 8 por la tarde y esperamos que nos vemos aquí. Y si hay más preguntas, puede mandar sus preguntas por email a communications@housingalexandria.org, comunicaciones@housingalexandria.org. Yo recibo estos emails y puedo responder a sus preguntas. También, si vaya a housingalexandria.org/Arlandria, puede añadir su nombre y su email a un listo donde se reciben noticias sobre actualizaciones del plan y también noticias sobre nuestras reuniones próximas. Tengo que dejar esta reunión para empezar la reunión en inglés. Si ustedes quieren permanecer aquí, está bien. Pero si no, muchísimas gracias y espero que ustedes tengan una buena noche.
So we're going to be ending the meeting in order to start the meeting that is in English. So you're welcome to join us to the English meeting as well. And thank you for being here.
Okay, thank you, Marisol. I'm going to start admitting the English waiting room, the English language waiting room. So thank you so much for your assistance. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's a pleasure and good luck with everything.
Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
Have a great night.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody. My name is Kayla Hornbrook, and I'm the communications manager for AHDC. Also on the line with us today is Aaron Remolona, the vice president of AHDC, and Rob Grady. They make up the project management team for this proposal, as well as Duncan Blair, our land use attorney. Just to let everybody know, this meeting is being recorded, so we can put it on our website for later viewing. Our plan for today is first to provide an update on where we are in the planning process for this proposed development, including a presentation of our exterior renderings. We'll then provide an update to the project timeline, as well as take questions. If you have questions, please hit the raise your hand button, and we will open up the mic at the end of the presentation. As well, you can type your questions into the chat box at any time. Our meeting today is short, and that's because we wanted to provide just a quick update on the project virtually since we've submitted a plan update to the city. Aaron, could you move to the next slide? We'd also like to encourage everybody here tonight to come to our in-person outdoor open house on August 10th from 6 to 8 p.m. We'll have several members of the full AHDC team there who are ready to hear and record your feedback and can answer questions on leasing, construction, design, the development process, and more. This event will also include several team members who speak Spanish as well as translators. For those who cannot attend this event or who would like to not participate in in-person events at this time, we will have virtual information and feedback opportunities on our website after the 10th. I'm going to hand it over now to Aaron, who will provide an update on the plan.
Thanks, Kayla, and good evening, everybody. I will be providing an overview of the proposed development, updates to the plan since the first meetings in April, and an outline of our schedule from now through the end of the year. If you did attend the meetings in April, a lot of this information may sound like repeated information, so I appreciate your patience. To start, this is an overview of the existing site conditions. The proposed development combines 5 separate land parcels on Glebe Road and Mount Vernon Avenue, including the former Safeway site at 221 West Glebe. This is number 1 on the map. Current tenants here are Sherwin-Williams and El Cuscoteco restaurant. Number 2 on the map is the site of Huascaran Restaurante, 3606 Mount Vernon Avenue. And then we have 3 parcels, 3610, 3612, and 3700 Mount Vernon Avenue. These 3 parcels are a combination of undeveloped land and surface parking lots. We're still under negotiation with the current landowners of these parcels, and we have not yet had a chance to speak with the current tenants directly, but we do plan on meeting with each of these businesses over the coming months to determine if there are opportunities for them to return as part of the commercial space being planned in the development. We are proposing a mixed-use development with 2 buildings in a new private street connecting Glebe Road and Mount Vernon Avenue. When completed, the project will include up to 482 units of affordable housing, a 379 space underground parking garage, and approximately 36,000 square feet of commercial space for organizations and businesses committed to serving the Arlandria-Chirrolagua community. This slide provides a summary comparison of the plan we presented in April and our most recent submission to the city on July 1st. As you can see, there's been slight reductions in the total number of units, parking spaces, and commercial space, but the overall plan remains the same. As many of you are already aware, the city is in the middle of an update to the Arlandria-Chirrolagua plan. Our proposed development plan is strongly aligned with the city's planning process objectives, particularly the draft housing recommendations shown on this slide. Our plan is to start construction on the larger building identified as Building 1, beginning with the underground garage. This 379 space garage will accommodate parking for both buildings in the project. The building will be 10 stories in height with 5-story setbacks along both Mount Vernon Avenue and Glebe Road. We're planning rooftop terraces with outdoor amenity spaces for the residents on each of these setbacks. We're also planning 4,000 square feet of commercial space on the first floor along Mount Vernon. Construction would begin in 2023 and be fully completed by 2026. The apartments will be constructed in separate phases, so the first residents will begin moving in by late 2025. Building 2 is planned as 7 stories total. It will include 31,000 square feet of non-residential commercial space on the first 2 floors, an additional 60 to 65 units of housing on floors 3 to 7. One of the notable updates since the April meetings is that we are considering offering these units as in this building as an affordable homeownership option. This is a priority for AHDC and a draft housing recommendation of the Arlandria-Chirrolagua plan to create affordable housing and homeownership opportunities. We believe providing housing options across the affordability spectrum from deeply affordable units through homeownership will work well for a project of this scale. If we're unable to establish an affordable homeownership program for these units, our plan is to build the units as rental. Construction of the building would begin in either 2024 or 2025 and be completed in 2025 or 2026. We understand that larger units at very affordable levels is the biggest concern for many community members. Our design process has benefited greatly from conversations with representatives of the community focused on household size, income levels, and unit layouts. Nearly 60% of the units in the project are planned as 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom, and 80% of the units have a layout that will accommodate 3 or more occupants. In terms of the proposed income mix, AHDC has set a goal of setting aside roughly a quarter of the total units for households at 40% of the area median income, AMI. Securing the financing to provide over 100 units at 40% AMI will be the most challenging aspect of the project, but we are determined to work with potential financial partners at the federal, state, and local levels, as well as the private sector, to obtain the significant amounts of funding necessary to achieve this goal. In regards to the non-residential commercial space in the building, we are having preliminary discussions with a healthcare provider for a potential new health clinic, as well as discussions with the city for potential satellite office space. And we're very excited about those two potential uses. There will be plenty of space remaining beyond those two potential uses, so we will actively engage with the Arlangia-Charalagua community, existing businesses in particular, and the Alexandria nonprofit community to ensure a mix of tenants that will provide services and amenities, but will also preserve assets that already exist in this neighborhood. Financially, AHDC's goal is to obtain financing for the commercial space that will allow the rents tenants pay to be as affordable as possible. As mentioned earlier, parking for both buildings will be underneath the underground parking garage that is beneath building 1. Access into the garage will be solely through the new private drive. And the loading and trash pickup for building 1 will also be located off this private drive. Loading and trash pickup for building 2 is located off of the existing alley. We believe the development has several elements within its design that minimize potential transportation impacts, including close proximity to bus lines. There are about 13 bus stops within 1/4 mile of the site, long-term and short-term bicycle parking, and improved connectivity between Glebe Road and Mount Vernon via the new private track. I'm now going to turn things over to Rob to present the exterior renderings for the project.
Hello all. Basically our design for the exterior of the building, it started with the following goals. First, we wanted to take inspiration from the existing architecture in the Arlandria-Charalagua community. Second, we wanted to create a unique set of buildings that are aesthetically attractive and will age well. And third, we wanted to ensure that the buildings exude a sense of stability and permanence in the neighborhood.
Rob, do you want me to click through your slides, or you can do it?
I'm having a little bit of difficulty right now getting to the next one.
Okay, I'll do it.
Thank you. Since our residents have longer tenures at our apartment buildings than in traditional market rate properties, our goal is to create places that feel grounded, stable, and timeless. As seen on the screen, this is AHDC's property over in Potomac Yard, the station. For AHDC's new construction projects, we work to ensure that each building in our portfolio is designed with a unique architectural personality, specific to the immediate community that it serves. With this goal of creating a development that cultivates a sense of permanence, we first look to the colors and styles of architecture in the immediate vicinity, avoiding current stylistic trends which might make the development appear more out of place. Next slide. With this objective in mind, we settled on an Art Deco-inspired look, styles pulled from the structures throughout the Arlandria-Charalagua and Del Rey communities along Mount Vernon Avenue. This inspiration manifested in a building with strong horizontal lines and vertical elements, an emphasis on brick construction, and a focus on articulation throughout the buildings. We also chose to design the two buildings into slightly differing styles and materials to break down the scale of the development, fostering the ideas that these buildings related to each other but may have been built at different times. Prior to each rendering, I am just going to show a quick image like this so you can sort of orient yourself in the development to see where you're standing and what you'll be viewing. So right now, next image. Here we can see how building 1 steps down in scale to West Glebe Road. You can also see the emphasis on horizontal detail created by the brickwork and balconies. The incorporation of balconies wherever possible helps create a feeling of interaction between the residential units and the greater development and neighborhood. This portion of the building also breaks to allow access between the street facade and the inner courtyard. Next. So in this next rendering, here, we can see the main lobby doors of building 1, located at the intersection of West Glebe Road and our new street. The primary lobby level is also where most of the community amenities will be located for the tenants. As you venture down the street towards Mount Vernon Avenue, you can see building 2 across from it in the distance. In this image, we can see how building 1 starts to rise up towards the center of the development site, and as well as how the varying brick coloration starts to pull in the adjacent colors of St. Rita Church to the north of it. Here we can see what building 1 looks like within the courtyard. This will be a very active area with most of our planned amenity spaces opening onto it so that tenants can easily access the outdoors. To the right of the glass windows ahead is an aperture in the building where stairs lead from this level down to the new street and Mount Vernon Avenue beyond. In this rendering, we are looking at the new street from Mount Vernon Avenue. We can see how the two buildings relate to each other, but are more unique in their designs. The smaller building 2 will contain potential community serving retail and office uses on the first 2 floors, as Aaron had mentioned. On building 1 to the left, we can see the second lobby entrance. Building 1 will also have retail store frontage along Mount Vernon Avenue, continuing sort of left on this image past the lobby. In this next image, we're standing at the intersection of Mount Vernon Avenue and West Glebe Road, looking towards building 1 of the development. As you can see the site, with many of the parcels around here ripe for redevelopment, likely in a much more contemporary style as trends are going. Our building, we aim for it to age well with a sort of strong and dignified character, utilizing the brickwork and some more sort of classical style in the Art Deco vernacular. In this next rendering here, we are traveling north along Mount Vernon Avenue. We can see the retail and commercial spaces along the building street level. We can also see how the building steps down to the street level for a more comfortable human scale appearance, which conforms with the new Arlandria Chiralagua small area plan. And in this last rendering, here we are looking down the alley behind building 2 to its confluence with the new street, across from which is the exterior staircase that leads residents and visitors up through to the large courtyard of building 1. Adjacent to the stair is the entry and exit point and doors which lead down to the 2 levels of subterranean parking below building 1. And now I'm going to hand it back to Aaron, and he is going to start to talk about the development timeline.
Okay, this slide provides a summary of the project's timeline. Our plan is to spend the remainder of this year working through the planning and entitlement process. In 2022, we'll focus on final site plan approval and obtaining the funding needed to begin construction of the project in 2023. Once again, our hope is that the first residents of building 1 will be moving in by the end of 2025. Okay, here's a more detailed look at our planning process to date and through the end of the year. In addition to the open house event at the project site on August 10th, we'll be holding a 4th public meeting in late September. We've been told that the city is preparing to bring the Arlandria Chiralagua plan update in front of Planning Commission and City Council in November. So we are preparing to bring our proposal to the Commission and City Council for their approval in December. Before ending my portion of the presentation, I want to take a moment to thank all the stakeholders that have worked together with our team on this proposal so far, representatives of the Arlandria Chiralagua community that we've met with directly, various groups within the city's planning department, the Office of Housing. We believe this opportunity is an incredible chance to address the housing needs in this neighborhood. We also view the project as an opportunity to help preserve the culture of this neighborhood and invest in the assets that already exist within Arlandria Chiralagua. We're looking forward to hearing your questions and comments this evening, and we will continue to seek out feedback on how to improve this project in the coming months and years. I'll now turn it over to Kayla to get us set up to take questions.
Thanks, Aaron. It would help if I unmuted, I believe. Before we get to questions, I want to mention again our upcoming open house event on August 10th. Aaron, if you could move to the next slide. You have, my apologies. This event will take place on the proposed development site in the parking lots to the north of the Huascarán restaurant. At this event, HDC team members will be available in person to answer questions and take feedback about this development proposal. The event will be set up with various stations on different topics related to construction, design, leasing, and non-residential spaces, among other items. The open house is going to be from 6 to 8 p.m. There are no scheduled speeches or talks or moments like that, so you do not need to be there for any time frame in particular. We also have HDC staff members who speak Spanish at this event, as well as translators for those who do not speak Spanish. All of the information that we share at this event, as well as the opportunities to provide feedback, will be provided online in some function after the event on our website, for those who do not feel that they should attend in-person events at this time or who cannot make this open house date. Now I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions. Just as a reminder, you can write your questions in the chat or press raise your hand to ask it with the open mic. If you'd like to raise your hand, it might be under reactions. There's a smiley face icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen and the raise hand feature is there. We will be ending at 8 p.m. So any questions that we do not get to in the chat will be answered on our website after the event. And you can always email questions after the meeting to communications@housingalexandria.org, or you can send them via our website at housingalexandria.org/Arlandria. I have one question in the chat that I'm going to go ahead and start with. Please feel free to add your questions or raise your hand as appropriate. But this question comes from Peter. It says, what will the triangle space between Mount Vernon and the Glebe Road intersection and Building 1 be used for?
Let's just make sure, are we talking about this space here?
No, Aaron.
The out parcel on the corner.
Right. Currently, that parcel is not part of the project. And it's, as far as we are aware, will remain in its current use. That's the answer.
Thanks, Duncan.
I believe in a previous meeting, we may have had a question about this as well. So if that's the case, I can follow up as well and see if there was an answer there that changed. I'm pretty certain it's just not a part of the project.
I think, Kayla, what I could say is that the project team is working closely with those owners and having conversations with them. And nothing being done on this project precludes the future redevelopment of those sites. And because of what we're doing with stormwater, in some instances actually will make it easier for them to redevelop in the future.
I'm going to take a question from the chat. And it looks, I'm going to read the full question. It might be more too, and I'm happy to read the question again. It says, thank you for the presentation. It's great to have more affordable housing in this area. Looking over the plans, I was curious about the section on rerouting the underground stream that flows from Monticello Park down Russell Road and empties into Hume Springs. There's been flash flooding in the past, so will the work increase flow capacity? Also, is there any plan to future-proof the work so the sewer can continue up to the property line on Glebe Road, only digging once?
Duncan, you want to take that one?
The first question relating to the stormwater facilities, we don't have an existing site, but there's a large storm sewer facility that goes from Glebe Road to Mount Vernon. That is being relocated, and we're working closely with the city to maximize its size and to maximize the efficiency of the system in an effort to work with the city in its ongoing program addressing localized flooding. That will be a part of the development special use permit that we are moving forward with. Should go to public hearings in December. Kelly, could you say the second question again?
Absolutely. The follow-up question said, is there any plan to future-proof the work so the sewer can continue up to the property line on Glebe Road, only digging once?
Can we get back to you on that question and post the answer?
Yeah, we'll look into it.
Yeah, and then we'll take this question and we'll work on an answer for it and be sure to include it in our follow-up materials as well.
Thank you.
And just briefly regarding follow-up materials, we work to get the video of the meeting up on our website within the next day. So tomorrow, Friday at the latest, in addition to getting the slides from the presentation on our website the next day. We will work to make sure that it takes longer, but get the transcript of questions and answers from this session as well as the Spanish language session on our website as well. That process just takes longer. Typically in the past, it's taken me about 2 weeks to get that completed. But once those are available, we'll provide an email notification to everybody on our Landria updates list, letting them know that those updates have been put onto our website. If you're not on this list already, if you go to housingalexandria.org/Arlandria and you add your information, if you scroll down, there's a sign up form there. You will be added to that list and you will begin receiving email updates about this project when we have them, such as when we post new information about a plan update, invitations to upcoming community meetings, invitations to virtual meetings like tonight's as well. At the moment, I don't have any hands raised and I don't have any more questions in the chat. So we'll take a few minutes and see if you have one, please feel free to, add your question to the chat or speak up, but I just want to take a moment to say thank you to everybody who has attended tonight. We appreciate community feedback and we appreciate these questions. They are important to the development of our projects and making sure that all the work that we do is incorporating community feedback. So we thank you for your participation tonight. Oh, here we go. I have another question that says, including a large number of parking spots in the residential construction project has several negative effects. More parking leads to more cars, producing traffic and more air and water pollution. Most importantly, for an affordable housing project, more parking increases the cost for the project, increasing the cost for the project and potential residents. Is there any way the number of parking spots in the residence could be reduced?
The number of parking spots that are being provided in the project are reduced from a market rate project substantially. They meet the needs based upon studies of other affordable projects in the city of the residents. And we're utilizing a shared parking analysis to maximize the use of the property, the parking between the commercial and the residential users, which actually will reduce the overall number of parking spaces. The number of spaces is believed to be what is required to provide adequate parking for the residents of the building and the commercial users. So it is already substantially reduced, reflecting the affordable nature of the project. Aaron, do you want to add anything about cost or what we found demographically in the other projects about the use of parking?
I think it depends on the location. We've seen different ratios play out better or worse, and so as we said in the presentation, this is I think an area that is close to quite a bit of public transit. And so we're comfortable with the number of spaces being provided. And, you know, I definitely I'm in agreement that the cost of parking is a huge cost to the project, and that we, you know, we strive to basically build as much parking as we need and no more than that.
Yeah, I was going to add that in addition to the parking, we are within, I believe it was 13 stops of Dash and WMATA will be within close proximity to the upcoming Potomac Yard Metro Station. As well, a question that we received in the previous meeting was, would there be bicycle storage on the site? And there is ample bicycle storage both on the street level and within the parking garage for residents as well. But thank you for your question. Again, I'll take a couple of minutes here just to wait to see if there's any additional questions or feedback. I believe we had one person who joined a little bit late, so if there's a question lingering out there, please feel free to ask it. I don't see any raised hands, so I'm just keeping my eye on the chat. I'll just take a minute also to say, if you aren't familiar with AHDC, we also have another project that we are currently in the development process for. This is our home ownership development proposal that is based off of Seminary Road. And for this meeting, or for Seminary Road, we will have upcoming community meetings to discuss plan updates there, I believe in late September. And then we will have another community meeting to discuss this project further in early October, possibly late September. Some of those dates are still being settled. But if you'd like to continue learning more about AHDC, our work, if you would like to receive I mentioned before the project specific updates here, but you can also sign up for our monthly newsletter on our website. So if you go to housingalexandria.org/contact, or when you go to housingalexandria.org, it'll be on the upper right-hand portion of the page. You can sign up for a monthly newsletter there. We work to try to include updates of, you know, large plan updates such as this or upcoming meetings, but we also share information about our existing properties, our resident services program, and any other kind of human interest stories from AHDC. I had a question that said, could we summarize some of the questions that were raised in the Spanish language meeting? And yeah, I'd be happy to go ahead and do that. So I took brief notes, but the questions that were raised in the Spanish language session were questions about largely the unit mix that we face. So we had a question asker who wanted to discuss why were there not more 2 bedrooms, how many people could fit inside of a 2-bedroom unit, and how many people could fit inside of 3. These are what we call kind of our family-sized units. And from our discussions that we've had with the Arlandria-Chiralagua neighborhood, these 2- and 3-bedroom units are in high demand, as 1-bedroom units do not tend to meet their needs. We also had a question about the income mix. So the 40%, 50%, 60%, and 80% of area median income mix that is across the building. We're working very hard to incorporate as many 40% and 50% units in this building as possible. From conversations with the community and looking at demographic studies, we know that 40 and 50% is about what is comfortable to be affordable for the community members of Arlandria and Chiralagua. We had a bit of a further explanation and conversation about why we have, I believe it's 35% of the units are 40 and 50% of the area median income. And this is due largely to how these projects are financed. 40% and 50% area median income units do not have rents that cover the costs of operation. So in order to be able to cover the cost of operation for the building, we have to look out for gap financing and for other funding resources that help support the cost of these low income units that do meet the community needs, in addition to having the 60 and 80% units in the building as well. So we had a conversation about that will be reflected in our post-meeting transcript, and I've already written a note that kind of a primer of the different sources of funding is something that I would like to produce in order to explain where these numbers come from and how we arrive at them. We talked a lot, we had questions about what the dens looked like in our units, so we discussed kind of what a floor plan with a den would look like. And then another question again about units that would support a family of 5. So we talked about, you know, our 3-bedroom units and how those units are laid out and put together. So that's kind of just a brief summary of the questions that were raised in the Spanish language session. One of the question askers reiterated, and I think this is probably a good summary of the questions, is affordability is one of the biggest concerns that the Spanish language session brought up, and making sure that it is not a development that displaces you know, any existing members of the Arlandria Chiralagua community, that people have an opportunity to remain here, to live here, while this building won't actually be tearing down any existing communities. People want to know that this community will be in support of the people who make up Arlandria Chiralagua and who make that neighborhood, as somebody we spoke to, a community space that blesses other neighborhoods in the Alexandria community as well. I have another question in the chat, but Aaron or Rob, did you have anything you'd want to add, or Duncan from the Spanish language session?
No, Kayla, you covered it.
Okay, this question from the chat says, do you all anticipate the 40% AMI being significantly inflated by 2025 or 2026 due to the Amazon offices and employees moving to the area? Is there a plan to ensure the units remain affordable for the current Chiralagua community?
That's a good question. You know, specific to 2025, 2026, it's hard to say. You know, I would say since the announcement of Amazon coming to the area, the annual increase in the past 2 or 3 years towards the, you know, the HUD AMI levels haven't noticed a huge impact outside of what's normal, but that does tend to lag a little bit, a couple of years behind. You know, we're being pretty conservative in our assumptions of what we think the 40% AMI will look like in 2020, 25, or 2026 when residents start moving in. And so, you know, we do at our properties, if needed, when there becomes this pressure between what people can afford and what the maximum rents are, you know, we do make changes to the rents that sometimes they do drop below what the max rent we can charge is. And so that's something, if we were to be in that type of situation, I can, you know, envision us looking into, just because Northern Virginia is the type of area where you do see that tend to happen sometimes, where because of the way the incomes grow and how high they already are, there's some misalignment in the rents and the AMI levels compared to, you know, what people can afford. So that is a quite sort of a roundabout answer, but I don't anticipate anything above, you know, annual increases that are above normal, especially because of the impacts of the pandemic and that sort of thing.
I would just add to follow up to that, it is something that, you know, we do hear that the 40% AMI is already, you know, it's the most comfortable value, but it is already quite high. And, you know, the cost of living adjustments that AMI goes through in this area don't tend to necessarily bring it towards a comfortable level on the ground, but it is something that we are paying attention to and will continue to pay attention to because we want to make sure that this is a community serving space. I have a question that says, is there the ability to prioritize tenants who have housing choice vouchers and or other rental assistance income?
There is, as part of the way that tax credit, and we're envisioning using the low-income housing tax credit program for this project, and part of the criteria that you earn points for on these competitive credits is to put in place some policies where tenants that do have these vouchers are prioritized in terms of being reached out to when units come available.
Another question from the chat asks, how ambitious is the project's goal for energy use intensity? And will renewable energy be generated by a solar photovoltaic system on the site?
So right now, our plan is to meet the requirements of Earthcraft Gold, as well as the city's green building policy. And so part of the city's green building policy in conjunction with meeting Earthcraft Gold is to have at least the capability for solar. And so that's something that we'll be planning to at least have the capability to implement. And we're looking into, you know, whether or not that's something that we would actually want to go through. But at the very least, what's constructed will be equipped for solar.
Rob, did you have a follow-up for that?
No, I was just going to say that, yeah, as Aaron said, it'll be prepared with mechanics and such on the roof, organized in a way that should solar potentially be installed, it would be able to accommodate it.
I have another question here that says, is there any plan to work with the city to increase broadband capacity as a part of the development?
We haven't had any plans or discussions with the city about it to date, but I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's a great idea. And so it seems it's like something that I think we would look into.
It is a priority of the city, and part of the American Recovery Act, I think the city has a commitment to increasing spending funds to increase broadband. Perhaps Councilwoman Pepper can answer that, as it's one of her favorite topics.
I'm not here.
Yes, ma'am.
At this moment in time, I don't have any questions remaining in the chat. You know, I want to take a moment to say thank you to everybody who attended. Leaving space if you have a question in the chat, I will get to it. But, you know, I wanted to say thank you to Councilwoman Pepper for attending. We also have Stephen Koenig from the Planning Commission here, Jill Norcross from Virginia Housing, some folks that I've interacted with directly in the past. So thank you for attending. For everybody else who is attending, we thank you very much. You know, if you found out about us from our email updates, fantastic. If you would like to receive email updates, please be sure to sign up at housingalexandria.org/Arlandria. I have another quick question from the chat that says, will you explore geothermal energy on the site?
Rob, do you want to crack at that one?
I think that at this stage in the design, that would be rather hard for us to bring in with the extensiveness of that technology. So we're going for other more sort of sustainable energy generating technologies, such as potentially solar, and a lot of sort of energy efficient work throughout the buildings and water saving technologies.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, so at this time, I don't see any more questions coming in. I would just like to add that if you come up with one, here tonight that you would like to have followed up on, please feel free to email your questions to communications@housingalexandria.org. We also have an email form that you can find specific to this project on our website as well. Questions that get sent in before we release the materials from this meeting will be incorporated in the written Q&A as well. And we will notify you and let you know that we have produced an answer for that. If you happen to have one to follow up on, that comes to mind around 9 p.m. tonight or so. We appreciate you all for coming. If you would like to receive notifications when we release the follow-up materials, please sign up for our email list. Otherwise, we will place them on our website. You can find all the resources linked on our blog, in addition to links to previous meetings and information about the Spanish language meetings as well. So I just want to say thank you very much to everybody who came tonight. We really appreciate you guys and your questions and your enthusiastic engagement with this process. And we look forward to hopefully seeing you at the open house on August 10th. And if not, we look forward to your feedback that comes out of the virtual open house, so to speak, after the 10th. And if you ever have any questions or anything that you want to discuss about this development, please don't hesitate to send us an email.